Hey guys, today I have what I hope will be a fun video for you, and this was actually inspired by Rincy and Marinez, who both recently put up videos about the Beloved Books project. Now the Beloved Books project, as far as I understand it, is a campaign on Twitter and Instagram that is hoping to encourage people to share on social media the books in their collections that are maybe not the newest or the shiniest or the most beautiful, but that are books that are really important to you and just really well loved. What those videos really did was inspire me to go back and look at what I was reading when I was younger. So I have a box here that I recently rescued from my parents' house and is actually full of books that I used to read when I was younger. So we've got some stuff here from when I couldn't read by myself yet, all the way up through high school. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of pull a few of these out, talk you through them, and hopefully give you guys a better picture of where I come from as a younger reader, if that makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and get started, but if you hear children or splashing or whatever in the background, I live right next to my community pool and it's summer. People are enjoying themselves. They're allowed. The first books I'm seeing here are Laura Ingalls Wilder books. This one is obviously Little House in the Big Woods, and this was by far my favorite of her Little House books. I never actually owned the full series because they had them at my local library, but the few I did own, I read over and over and over again. As you can see, this one has definitely been well loved. The spine is cracking off here and there's a tear in the cover. I really loved the kind of frontier, handmade, DIY lifestyle elements of this and thought it was the bee's knees, shall we say, if we're going old-fashioned. Aside from reading her actual series, I really loved this Childhood of Famous Americans biography on Laura Ingalls Wilder. This was a series they used to sell at my local kids bookshop on different famous Americans, and I honestly think I probably read this more times than I read the actual series. And if I remember correctly, yeah, I actually wrote my name and phone number in the top front cover because I took this everywhere with me when I was younger, and I was paranoid that if I left it somewhere I was never going to see it again. I was also really into the Revolutionary War when I was younger, so I've just discovered all of the books relating to that, so hold on one second. I think the first Revolutionary War book I ever read was Johnny Tremain by Esther Forbes. This is actually one of my favorite books of all time. I have reread it several times, and yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I mean, it is a Newbery Medal winner. Aside from Johnny Tremain, I also had, let's see, My Brother Sam is Dead by James Lincoln Collier and Christopher Collier, Time Enough for Drums by Anne Rinaldi, which is more of a young teen romancy novel, and definitely not as good as Johnny Tremain. And then lastly, I have George Washington's Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior to Company and Conversation, which is basically just like 1700s etiquette. So it's fun, not something I really remember a whole lot about, but yeah, if you can't tell, I was really into the Revolutionary War at one point. Actually, looking at these, we could do a lot of this thematically, so let's go ahead and jump to pirate books. I have Treasure Island up on my shelf right now, but I also have Stowaway by Karen Hess. This was fantastic. Pirates by Celia Rees, which I don't really remember too much about, and then The Dark Frigate by Charles Boardman Hawes. And then of course, because I was a 90s kid, I have horse books. First I have here obviously Black Beauty by Anna Sewell, and then Misty of Chincoteague by Margaret Henry. So good. And then I don't know if anybody read this one, but this was actually one of my favorite books. I got this at a library book sale, I believe, when I was younger, and that is The Hunky Dory Dairy by Anne Lindbergh. This is about a girl who, I don't remember how she gets back in time, but she somehow goes back in time to the 1800s and brings like her technology with her, and it's just kind of this amazing time travel story, and it's probably not as good as I remember it, but I really loved this back when I was young. That makes me sound like I'm so old. I'm only 25, but you know, it feels like a long time ago. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have The Castle in the Attic by Elizabeth Winthrop. Again, another children's classic that I actually don't remember a whole lot about, but I remember we read this in school one year. And then I have all of my Felicity books. Again, Revolutionary War, loved Felicity. She was by far my favorite American Girl, and I think the only American Girl where I ever actually bought the books. The rest I just checked out from the library. One series I never really got into as a kid was Nancy Drew, but I do have two of these Hardy Boys books, and this was when were these published? I think this was early 2000s, yeah, 2005. So this was a kind of modern day Hardy Boys reboot, and I don't actually know how long the series was, but I enjoyed these two at least. I think we bought them for my brother, and then he never ended up reading them, and I really enjoyed them. And honestly, I don't know if kids are still reading Judy Blume, but again, 90s kids, so I have quite a few Judy Blume novels here. I have Just As Long As We're Together, Blubber, and the one I remember most, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So these were kind of, I would say, like junior YA books that I just remember devouring every single summer. I read these ones, and then my local library had a bunch of them as well. And speaking of YA, I have The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. Now, I actually own the entire series, though I don't think I ever read the last two books. But this was pretty much as YA as it got when I was growing up. I know y'all have many options nowadays, but this was pretty much it back when I was a kid. What I really remember about reading these books was that they are written in diary format, and this was the first time I ever really read a teenage voice that sounded like a teenager, and I just remember thinking these were the greatest thing ever. So really fun and kind of a definite throwback. I don't know if kids are still reading these days. Then I also have almost the entire Eyeshield 21 manga series in this box. I think I've mentioned this on the channel before, but this was my favorite manga series when I was in high school. It is about a kid named Senna who, upon starting high school, gets drafted into the football club because he is a crazy amazing sprinter. You might be wondering why I was so into this, given that I am not a fan of football in the slightest, and that I'm really just not a huge sports person in general, but I don't know why. I really loved this, and like I said, I have pretty much the entire series. Stupidly of me, I sold a few of the issues on Amazon back when I first went to college, thinking, oh, I'm never gonna want to read that again. I was wrong. I want to read them again, and now I've got holes in my collection. So learn from me, kids. Don't make my mistakes. Okay, now getting into some of the kids' books that I read when I was quite a bit younger. I have a few of these like bind-ups here. So first of all, I have a smaller one. This is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll on one side, and then you flip it over and it's Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Now obviously these aren't the full texts. These are children's shortenings, abridgments, I don't know what the correct word is there, but I absolutely love the illustrations in here. These are the illustrations I think of when I think of Peter Pan. I don't think of Disney. This is what I think of. So I absolutely loved this book, and I was so very glad to find that I still owned these. I mean, just like, they're great illustrations. Then I have two of these bigger bind-ups here, which I believe probably had dust jackets once upon a time, but I do not know where they have gone. This one is The Complete Tales of Beatrix Potter, and again, we have amazing full color illustrations. I love Beatrix Potter. She's probably the first author I was ever really aware of, mainly because I was given, I believe when I was a baby, a full collection of the little green books, like what she originally published. My parents used to read them to me every night before bed when I was, you know, like in kindergarten and preschool. So I really have a soft spot for Beatrix Potter, and again, I love having this huge bind up. I will never ever get rid of this one. Then this one is of course The Complete Tales of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, and I honestly don't remember quite as much about Winnie the Pooh from the written stories. I watched the Disney cartoons quite a few times, so I remember more from that, but again, it's just really nice to have a huge collection like this. It's so beautiful. This is making me so nostalgic. And speaking of nostalgia, I have one more book to show you guys, which really does define my childhood. This is Mad About Madeline, The Complete Tales by Ludwig Bellemans. Now, I don't know if kids are still aware of Madeline, if people are still reading them to their kids, but I loved these stories so much. The illustrations are really like nothing else that I have seen since, and I'm so very glad to own this book because It's completely stunning. I feel like this was definitely quite a long video, so thank you guys so much if you have made it to the end. But I hope you enjoyed getting a look at what I was reading when I was younger, the kinds of things I was interested in, the kinds of books that I have held onto, because I have gotten rid of a few things, but the ones I have kept here are really the books that have meant a lot to me over the years. I'm not going to make this into a tag or anything, but if you guys are able to get your hands on some of your own kids' books and you would like to share some titles that you loved and still love down in the comments below, I would love to see that. Love to get some nostalgia going. And of course, if you liked this video and you've been liking the more creative, original content that I've been trying to make for this channel recently, I would love for you guys to head on over to my Patreon page and consider becoming a patron. Every little bit does help, and it just gives me a little bit more time to come up with new ideas and fun things for you guys to watch. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye!